Hey guys, welcome back to the studio and thank you so much for joining me. Today I've got something really different for you and something that I'm actually quite excited to try / attempt. It's something that I don't know if it's going to be possible. I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage it, but I'm going to give it a shot. Recently I was talking to a friend of mine on Instagram and we were talking about whether you need to spend lots of money on tools. Obviously, as you can tell from behind me and my videos and such, I have quite a lot of money's worth of tools, but is it necessary? Don't know. I guess we're going to find out. Today I'm actually going to use the cheapest tools possible. I'm going to use a Stanley box cutter that I got for, I think it was 20 quid, something like that. I'm going to use a ruler because rulers are cheap. Mine are just standard plastic rulers. And for the pricking is going to be where it gets interesting. I'm going to use a fork. Yeah, I know, it's a fork. Can you make a wallet with a fork? There's the title, I guess. Can you make a wallet with a fork? Well, I think it's possible. It's a pronged instrument, therefore the prongs should be equidistant apart. So in theory, if you know how to use one of these, it's an awl, if you know how to use one of those, there you go, there's a good view of one. Most of you guys have one. If you don't, I would highly recommend getting one. They're hugely useful and you can't really do saddle stitching without one. And make sure that your awl is properly indexed to your hand. So mine has flats on it, as you can see, and I know that where that flat is the flat on the awl blade, because that's how it's set up. If you want a detailed video of this specific awl, please let me know. I'm happy to do it, just don't know if it's of any interest to you guys. It's a really nice awl. It's made by a French maker actually, but fantastic awl, probably my favourite one. Anyway, well, let's dive in and find out, shall we? Alright guys, so what we've got here is the Stanley knife from previous that I've just showed you, my trusty fork, ruler, and is this. So it's just simple buttero leather. This is vegetable tanned, 1.6mm thick. The reason I've decided to use this is quite simple. It's affordable leather. It's easy to get hold of. It's basically just a simple Italian shoulder. That's all it is. It's nothing special. It's dyed through, as you can see. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up. It will soon. It's dyed through, so you don't need to do much to it really. So that's what I've decided to use for this challenge, if you like. So the first thing we're going to do is get the pattern. We're going to line it up in the most economical place we can. We're going to use the fork. Which is not very easy, but as you can see, it's perfectly doable. You can use the fork as a scratch awl first. And there we go. As you can see, easily traced out that pattern. Go ahead and scratch out all of these now. One of the other reasons I've decided to use vegetable tan leather is because it marks really, really easily. and that's good for this because it means that I can trace it out with my fork. If I was using a chrome tan leather, I wouldn't be able to do this. Get our box cutter, and first of all I'm just going to rough cut out all of these pieces to make it a bit easier for me. I can line up my first cut. Now you always want to keep your ruler on the good side of the cut, so the pockets here that I'm cutting out, or the panels here that I'm cutting out, you want to keep your ruler on there, because if you stray off, I'm not going to demonstrate it obviously, but if you stray off, you won't cut into your piece. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners trying to do is cut through on the first pull. That normally puts too much weight into the blade, and as a result of that, you can stray off, which is what we don't want to do. So now we've got the pattern. That's all you need. You don't need anything more complicated than that. Using our fork to mark where to glue. Now I'm not going to be creasing these, I'm not going to be burnishing these, because the whole point of this is to show you that you can make a perfectly functional card holder or wallet with absolutely minimum tools. That's the purpose of this. If you just want to do some simple leather work, you can, and it doesn't require lots of money to be spent. I'm going to use my fork to mark. Now the reason I've done 2 marks, maybe you can see there and there, is because if I don't, I might get confused and start scratching this part up, and I don't want to do that because you will need to scratch it up to get the glue to stick. So I've done 1 mark at the top, and then the other marks just to show me that I'm scratching that way. Another trick you can do is put your ruler against it to make sure that you're flat. 2 marks, move on. What I'm going to do is show you how to glue to the point without, scratch to the point without risking the part of the leather you don't want to scratch. To give us about 5mm, I'm not going to measure it, it's not that important, but to give us approximately 5mm of scratching area, if you like. I'm going to put it just behind that line, and I'm going to pull. What I'm trying to do is scratch the top layer, the finished layer off, so that we get some glue adhesion. Adhesion, is that a word? I think it's a word. Being very careful not to go over the line we marked, which is just there. And there we go. Happy with that? Now I would adhere glue really nicely, move that to the side. If you want me to do a separate video about different glues, just leave a comment below. So we're going to put glue only where we've scratched. You don't need to scratch this up because it's going onto the flesh side of the leather, so it will absorb in. There we go. You know when the glue is dry, when it's completely clear. As you can see, it's no longer white, obviously. I'm going to stick them together. Go corner to corner first. and then meet them in the middle, and you get a perfect edge. And considering we're not burnishing these, it's quite important. Corner to corner. Corner to corner. And then it all goes perfectly. Now the next thing to do is to glue these together. Just need to make sure that we're gluing this bottom instead of the top, and that can get confusing sometimes. I've made that mistake. I think every leather worker has at some point in their career. Set those aside to dry. Again, corner to corner. If you're slightly off, you can just peel it apart and start again. Corner to corner on the other end. Make sure it doesn't stick too much. And then the bottom. Now, because the majority of you probably don't have crimping pliers or a hammer, we're just going to give it a really good squeeze. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. We're going to mark from the top so we know how far to go. And we're going to do this. This is not going to be easy. It's not terrible. I've done harder things in my life. Right, let's get a hammer and try this. It's going to be quite funny, isn't it? Okay, so let's line that up. I'm just going to put a little bit of a bend in the fork so that when I hit it, I'm not the oracle. Maybe one of you will get that reference, especially with the new movie that just came out. If I was, this would be a bit easier. Instead of hitting it with a hammer, I think I'm just going to push it. That seems to be working better. Just give it a good old shove in there. This is going to be interesting. Okay. Weirdly, that's lined up exactly with the corner, and I didn't even measure that. Kind of worked-ish. So, there we go. Marked. Kind of. So let's thread up some needles and see what we can do, shall we? Fungu poly thread. Not that YouTuber thing, you put my hand behind it. Better do that, otherwise I'm not a real YouTuber. Still, it doesn't work. There we go. So this is 0.45mm. Got our stitching clamp. This one's a Dream Factory. Not that it makes any difference at all for this. For the sake of the video, you know what it is. And we're gonna clamp that in nice and tight. Oh, that's a long leather, a long thread. Right. I've done a tutorial on saddle stitching, so if you want to go and watch that, I'll put it in the cards. I have absolutely no idea what length between, it's probably 5 mil or something between each stitch. Doesn't look atrocious, does it? Let's keep going. Might get even more atrocious. Doing it the fork style. Shall I pattern this and call it the fork stitch instead of the saddle stitch? Would be quite funny, wouldn't it? Let me know in the comments what else you want me to try and make with a fork, because this is one of the most challenging things I've ever made. And then I'll show you what we did, shall we? Right guys, so I hope you enjoyed that. Obviously the point of this was not to try and persuade you to throw away all your tools. Clearly that wasn't what I was trying to do, because that would be unreasonable. Making this was to demonstrate that if you found this video because you're looking for something to try, or you want to dip your toe into leatherwork or whatever it might be, you can for very little. If you just want to pick up some affordable leather and you want to have a go at making something, it doesn't take a lot really, and I hope that's what you took away from it. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers now, and it really helps this channel out enormously, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much guys.